Okay, so welcome back for a supplementary part of our talk today. Um, we didn't have enough time really to go over this, so I wanted to make sure that we do that. Get something set up real quick here. So our doctrine of double effect. Doctrine of double effect is an aspect of the natural law theory that kind of focuses more on conflicting principles that may be involved in what you're trying to figure out using this idea of the natural law. So this is a good video to just get you into what the doctrine of double effect is, and I'll be back after the video is done. So let's take a look at that.
The rule of double effect is a rule widely used in bioethics and proposed to justify one action which may result in both one good and one bad effect. This is a rule that is widely taught in medical schools, often with little or no background on its origin or philosophical underpinnings. It is an important rule because it is the rule used to justify, for example, the use of narcotics in end-of-life issues, when the goal is to alleviate pain, even though these drugs are likely to accelerate the patient's imminent and unavoidable death. Imagine you just get stabbed by somebody who is now about to murder the rest of your family. As you lie on the ground, the only way for you to stop the assailant is to shoot him in the head. That's the only angle you have. In this particular case, one action will result in two effects. One bad effect, you will kill one person, who for all we know may be innocent and psychotic, and one good effect, you protect your family. Is this a morally permissible action? According to the rule of double effect, it is. Why? Because the following conditions are fulfilled. Number one, your intention is to protect your family, not to kill anybody. The attacker's death is a foreseen but unintended consequence. 2. The bad effect is not the means by which you bring about the desired consequence. If you could avoid killing that assailant, you would. And finally, 3. The good outweighs the bad, or as philosophers would put it, there is proportionality. Well, that seems right, but let's look now at a different example. This time, you need to find $1 million to pay for an expensive, life-saving operation for your child. You happen to be out on a fishing trip. Your friends just showed you a winning lottery ticket for $1 million, but refuses adamantly to share the prize with you. You decide, for the sake of your family, to shoot your friend. One action with two effects. One bad effect, you kill the person, but one good effect, you save your child. Now you later tell the judge that you did not intend to kill your friend and wish you had another option, and somehow he doesn't buy it. This is due to what's now known as the Knobe effect, K-N-O-B-E, from the philosopher Joshua Knobe, who first described it through a series of very elegant studies. He showed that we tend to assign intention only after we've already intuitively decided whether an action is morally permissible or not. If so, it is difficult to appeal to intentions in the context of the rule of double effect to justify any such action. So what exactly is an intention? This is a very complex and debated concept, but we can summarize it as follows. It is the commitment to a particular course of action to bring about a particular effect. Now, we obviously do not intend all the consequences of our actions. How could we? Some of them will be necessarily unpredictable. But philosophers tend to agree that we intend consequences that are logically entailed by our decisions. If I commit myself to an action to bring about A, I necessarily commit myself to not bringing about non-A. For example, if I decide to stay after work to write a paper, I will also intend to miss my son's basketball practice. Because of the a priori assumptions of the rule of double effect, namely that one action will bring about a good and a bad effect, these logical constraints are substituted by situational constraints. So just as in the former example, the action entails A and therefore not non-A, A and not non-A are therefore both intended. In the rule of double effect, likewise, the action entails both the good and the bad effects, so that both should be considered intended consequences. Intentions, then, while otherwise of significant moral value, do not seem to do the legwork proposed in the rule of double effect. Something else must. The rule of double effect.
So this rule of the doctrine of double effect. Interesting, a little confusing for some. So the doctrine of double effect pertains to situations or instances where an action is going to be both good and bad, going to have effects from it that are both good and bad. And you kind of have conflicting choices with them. According to the doctrine of double effect, an action is going to be permissible if these four conditions are met. And it's important to remember these. One, the action is inherently, without referring to consequences, is inherently either morally good or morally neutral. Not morally bad, but it's morally good or morally neutral. The bad effect that may come from this is not used to produce the good effect. I have to kill half of existence to benefit all of existence. Thanos doesn't work here in the doctrine of double effect. Though that bad may actually be a side effect of the good, it cannot be used to produce that good effect. Third one, and the intention must always be to bring about some form of good effect. And the good effect must be at least as important, if not more, than the bad effect itself. Where are you going to see this? Well, Aquinas claimed that it was going to be impermissible. Sorry, rewind. Aquinas claimed that it was sometimes permissible to kill someone if you didn't intend to, because according to God's law, it is impermissible to kill someone. But if you didn't intend to do it, happened by accident, or you were firing an arrow and someone got in the way, Aquinas said that wouldn't be your responsibility then. More examples of the doctrine of double effect, you're going to see that in the medical profession, where sometimes a surgery, which is for some is considered a damaging thing, a hurtful thing, a harmful thing, but it can bring about a good effect of being healthier by removing something from your body. You wouldn't want to necessarily remove something from your body, but it is the bad effect of getting something taken out of your body is a side effect of something good happening. Euthanasia, organ donation, being put on the organ donation list. It's a good thing that kind of has a bad consequence to it. You gotta lose an organ or you have to die. But your benefit that comes from it's going to be there. Military, tactical bomb versus a suicide bomber. There is something that is either going to be morally good or morally neutral. Tactical bomb itself is morally neutral. But if it's used for a good intent, then it's going to be somewhat okay. Socially, self-defense, having multiple jobs. Yeah, you have less time. It's kind of the bad effect is kind of crappy. You don't have as much time to maybe even relax, or recharge. But you're going to be making more money. You're going to be able to support your family. You're going to be able to support your needs. And the theories where you're going to see this is a lot in the trolley problem. Yeah, you might have to kill one person to save five, but you're saving life. Ticking time bomb. We'll see this in sociopolitical ethics when we get to the idea of suicide bombers and stuff. But this is the idea of, okay, fine, we're going to have to torture this guy to make sure that we get the good effect. The good effect is but that's a little wonky with the doctrine of double effect because we have to do something bad to get the good. We can't do that. So the critics of the doctrine of double effect say that it's not necessarily impartial. It's got false intentions behind it, and there's a lot of deception involved with it. So if it's part of our natural law theory, it doesn't really still fit in the idea of our considered moral judgments or our considered moral experiences, which should be number 2 here. And again, it doesn't help us in problem solving. It might be a little more helpful, but still there's a lot of problematic issues with trying to find our way from the is ought issue or the is should issue. It's from what nature is to what we should do based on what nature is. There's got to be a dividing line here, or also known as the Humean guillotine, the Humean knife. We have to cut the difference between what actually is and what ought to be done. So that is the sense of the doctrine of double effect. You need to know what these 4 requirements are, and this will help you a lot in bioethics and medical ethics. So that's the doctrine of double effect. Intention. Intention added to our moral theory of dictated nature of ourselves. Intention is going to count, but we know that maybe if intention counts, well, I didn't intend to kill that person. They just really got on my nerves. And they got in the way of the knife as I was going, I'm going to kill you. No, that's not good. So intention causes some problematic concerns here. So that's it for Doctrine of Double Effect. I'll have a few questions for you to answer so that you can get your extra participation points for this. And I will see you next time. Take care.